Good morning. Welcome to First Unitarian Church on this chilly morning. Feels great, doesn't it? Oh, I love it. Welcome to those who are joining us online, where you are nice and warm and toasty at home, or on the road perhaps. Welcome to our visitors. We're really glad that you're here, and I'd love if you'd stop by our welcome table on the way out. Stop by the table, let us introduce ourselves and get to know you a little bit as well and find out why you're here. I'd like to start with a few announcements. First of all, there are 2 upcoming opportunities to learn how to keep our church community safer during these anxious times. First, tomorrow night, here in this room or on Zoom, we're going to have a situational awareness training starting at 7 o'clock. This session will discuss how to recognize suspicious or potentially dangerous behavior and threats and what to do, whether you are here in church, at school, or going about your day. We're also planning to have a CPR and first aid certification class this coming Saturday, the 26th, from 10 till noon. The cost is $55 per person. Pre-registration is required, and you will be same-day certified. This class would be great for any of our greeters, welcome table volunteers, child care professionals, or just for anybody who needs to update their certification. So look online and sign up for that right away. On Tuesday night, don't forget, it's Teams night, pizza at 6:30 and meetings at 7. And then Wednesday night will be the first of our new member class. If you're relatively new to our church and you want to learn more about Unitarian Universalism, we invite you to sign up for this 3-week class. It'll be 3 consecutive Wednesdays, and the class will be led by Derek Giersdorf. You can sign up at the welcome table. Next Sunday, raise your hand if you have a ukulele. We would like you to bring it to church. You don't have to play it very well. Just bring it. All will be revealed. Special stuff. After Ukulele Sunday at church is our trunk or treat for our families. It'll be right out here in the parking lot. And that means that this is your annual reminder that if you are parked back there after the 11 a.m. service and you don't want to be put in a costume not of your choice, you need to move your car by 12:15. If you're back there at 12:15, a goblin might get you. I don't know, but you're going to be stuck. You won't be able to get away. So move your car. Finally, we would love for you to join our bell choir. Yes, the bell choir is coming back. You can join for one occasion or for the rest of the year. Rehearsals are every Tuesday evening beginning November 5th, and that's to prepare for our Lessons and Carols service in December. All levels of aptitude are delightfully accepted, so even if you have one note, you can ring it proudly. And we will help you learn the music. Come and have fun. Now that we've gotten through our announcements, we're ready to begin our service. Today I bring you these words by my friend and colleague, the Reverend Sherry Woodbury. Whether by habit or out of need, whether in body or through cyberspace, you entered this sanctuary today. Light shining sky outside, open space for hearts and minds. There's no separation here of the sacred from the profane, no setting apart from the natural world, for nothing can be more precious than the ordinary beauty of nature and the stirrings of the human spirit. Let us bring then our holy hearts into this place of ritual and song. Let us once more commingle the elements of heaven and earth in this shrine of interconnection. Come, let us worship together. I invite you now to rise in body or in spirit, and let's sing together number 34. I'd like to invite forward our lay minister for this morning, Melinda Pettingill-Patterson, who will be speaking on our monthly topic of pluralism.
Good morning. I am a trauma therapist, which means I've spent the past 20 years working with folks who've experienced overwhelming terror in the face of traumatic events. And as a result, sometimes have difficulty regulating their nervous systems, that fight, flight, freeze instinct in all of us. I primarily work with sexual assault survivors, military veterans, doctors, and therapists that have experienced or been exposed to really traumatic events. All of them are having very normal reactions to very abnormal life experiences. Most of my work has involved normalizing two seemingly opposite truths. One, you have a very real history of being unsafe. And two, our job together is to help you feel safer in your body and your nervous system so that you can continue building a meaningful life. I've never met a trauma therapist that didn't land in this work via a trauma history of their own, myself included. So developing a sense of safety in my own body, nervous system, has been one of the greatest tasks of my personal and professional life. Every time people ask me what I do for a living, I usually get some version of the following response. Ugh, that sounds so awful. how do you sit through so much pain and suffering all day, every day? I usually tell them it can be hard, but learning how to hold two truths that seemingly cannot coexist has made all the difference. One, I am exposed to really sad and even scary experiences daily. And two, I get to support and witness people healing from some of the world's most difficult wounds every day. My father also had a very significant trauma history. And as a result, he struggled with suicidal thoughts and feelings throughout my entire life. And I believe his. In 2019, his suffering was more than he could continue to navigate, and he made a decision to end his life. The requirement that I hold two truths in the face of this loss was enormous. One, I am a skilled trauma therapist, and two, I could not save my dad from his suffering. As Dr. Becky Kennedy, one of the most brilliant psychotherapists of our time, has said in her book, Good Inside, and everyone should read that, the ability to accept multiple realities at the same time is critical to healthy relationships. When there are two people in a room, there are also two sets of feelings, thoughts, needs, and perspectives. Our ability to hold on to multiple truths at once, ours and someone else's, allows two people in a relationship to feel seen and to feel real, even if they're in conflict. Understanding, not convincing, is what allows people to feel safe and secure in a relationship. Understanding has one goal: connection. What's the opposite of understanding? Dr. Becky says it's convincing. Convincing is an attempt to be right, and as a result, make the other person wrong. It relies on the assumption that there's only one correct viewpoint. And here's the unintended consequence of being right. The other person feels unseen and unheard. At which point most people become infuriated and combative because it feels as if the other person does not accept your realness or your worth. Feeling unseen and unheard makes connection impossible. Understanding, two things are true. Convincing, only one thing is true. These are two diametrically opposed ways of approaching other people. So a powerful first step in any interaction is to notice which mode we are in. In one thing is true mode, each person thinks they're arguing about the content of the conversation, when in fact they're trying to defend that they are a real, worthy person with a real, truthful experience. It isn't lost on me, or probably you, that Reverend Jay's topic this month is pluralism. I've heard rumors there's an election next month. And Reverend Jay just might be asking me and you to consider pluralism as a path to connection. Pluralism and seeking to understand has been extremely difficult for me in the Trump era. I am trying to hold two truths in this. One, I know that racism, sexism, genocide, anti-immigrant sentiments, othering trans folks is not acceptable on any level, and reinforces a lack of safety for the most vulnerable among us. And two, the more time I spend trying to understand, I'm learning that people across the aisle are not feeling safe in their experience either. The more aware I am of which mode I am in, understanding versus convincing, the safer I feel. And I am in a position to hear people share their fears, no matter how different they are from my own. If my dad was still alive, he would be voting for Trump next month. And I would be being asked to hold two seemingly impossible truths. One, his support of Trump would be primarily based on his chronic fear of becoming even more irrelevant, even more not enough. And two, when I sit with my own fears of Trump and folks that think and behave like him, I'm reminded that Trump did not create our current political and moral climate. People feeling afraid, misunderstood, unseen, and unsafe did. Trump showed up, and for a large, powerful group of Americans, he said, I see you, I hear you, and I'm gonna do a bunch of things to help the world continue feeling safe for you and you alone. So as I continue thinking about my role in trying to create greater safety for immigrants, the LGBTQ community, people of color, families experiencing genocide, and those impacted most by climate change, I'm also going to try to dig deeper and consider how I can create understanding for those that don't think like me. I wonder how things might have looked or felt if I had started with, I hear you saying you are feeling unsafe. So am I. Let's hold these two truths together and see what we can build from that shared place.
Look what showed up last week. That big yellow envelope that tells you that the moment you've been waiting for, dreading perhaps, is just around the corner. Looking at it, holding it in your hands, what do you feel? Hope, excitement, dread, anxiety, opportunity, or even a sense of duty, perhaps. It's a long ballot this year, 2 pages front and back where I live. So maybe it feels like now you have some homework to add to your to-do list. My guess is that you feel some combination of all of these things. A turning point in our civic life is upon us, and there's little we can do now but hold on to each other and hope for the best. So I invite you to enter into a spirit of meditation with me. Hold up each feeling one by one. The hope, the dread, the opportunity. Whatever you are feeling is okay to feel. And whatever you're feeling, you're not alone. Someone else in this room, probably many somebodies, are feeling it too. I invite you to regard yourself with curiosity and connect each feeling to a value that you hold that's important to you. Hope, because we want our choices to result in a better world for everyone. Dread, because we fear those who desire power more than justice. Opportunity, because no matter the results, we know we will have work to do. We are the ones we've been waiting for. We are our grandmother's prayers, our grandfather's dreamings. We are the breath of our ancestors. Take one more moment and give thanks for all the people of this nation who are working so hard in this moment. The clerks with the responsibility of counting each ballot and guaranteeing the smooth machinery of democracy. Thank every person who has written a postcard or made a phone call encouraging their fellow Americans to vote. Those working on campaigns, knocking on doors, soliciting donations, mustering the courage to talk to people who may not respond with kindness. Give thanks for every person who has responded with kindness to someone who cares about the future, no matter how they are planning to vote, because we need one another, and we need kindness to see each other through. No one ever changed their mind after being yelled at. As Melinda said so eloquently, we change our minds after being seen and heard, taken seriously, and shown that another way is possible. I invite you finally to ask yourself what you need to get through the next couple of weeks. Maybe you need a manicure after biting your nails so much. Maybe you need to watch the news because information is calming for you. Or maybe you need to turn it off because you're losing perspective. Maybe a nice long walk around your neighborhood or a visit to the dog park or coffee shop can help remind you of all the good people around you and how relationships can get you through. Friends, may you be encouraged this week. May you be encouraged. May you be lifted up by the goodness of people, and may you find what you need, both inside and outside that yellow envelope. May it be so.
For each child that's born, a morning star rises and sings to the universe who we are. For each child that's born, a morning star rises and sings to the universe who we are. For each child that's born, a morning star rises and sings to the universe who we are. For each child that's born, a morning star rises and sings to the universe who we are. We are our grandmother's prayer, and we are our grandfather's dreams. We are the wrath of our ancestors. We are the Spirit of God. We are mothers of church and fathers of God. We are daughters of dust and sons of greatness. We are mothers of mercy and mothers of love. We are mothers of life. We are builders of name. We are builders of truth and keepers of faith. We are makers of peace and the wisdom of ages. We are our grandmother's prayers, and we are our grandfather's dreams. We are the breath of our ancestors. We are the Spirit of God. We are builders of nation, we're seekers of truth and keepers of faith, makers of peace and the wisdom of ages. We are our grandmother's prayers, and we are our grandfather's dreaming. We are the breath of our ancestors. We are the Spirit of God. For each child is born, a morning star rises and sings to the universe who we are. For each child that's born, a morning star rises and sings to the universe who we are. For each child that's born, a morning star rises and sings to the universe who we are. For each child that's born, a morning star rises and sings to the universe who we are.
Oh, we give thanks for this precious day, for all gathered here, and those far away, day.
For this precious day.
I invite you to look up. If you are not in the know, our ceiling got fixed. We've had a patch of bad paint and water damage there for quite a long time, and it got fixed this week. Woo! Feels good. And I'm also proud to report last week we collected money for the UUA Disaster Relief Fund, raising money to help hurricane victims in Florida and North Carolina. And we were able to raise over $1,000 to send to the fund. So our generosity changes things, both inside our church and out in the world. And we have an opportunity in every worship service to give a few moments to generosity and gratitude. And that time has come today. So as the baskets come around, we invite you to give as generously as you can. You can also use the QR code in the seat back in front of you. And take this time to express your gratitude and welcome your neighbors next to you. On October 1st, I got a notification on my phone from Albert Camus. I picked up the phone and opened up the notification, and here's what it said. In the midst of winter, I found there was within me an invincible summer, and that makes me happy. For it says that no matter how hard the world pushes against me, within me there's something stronger, something better pushing right back. Inspiring, right? Thanks, Al. In truth, it was me reminding me that on October 1st, it's time for me to add a little quality time with my light therapy lamp to my morning routine. You see, ever since I've been living at this higher latitude, I've started to experience a little bit of winter blues to complement the little appetizer plate of mental health stuff I already have going on during the rest of the year. And I believe in better living through chemistry. If you're not able to produce your own brain chemicals from scratch, store-bought is perfectly fine. It works just as well. So I have reminders set to take my meds morning and evening. And as the seasons change and this little bit of extra self-care becomes useful, I figured, why not be reminded by an existentialist? Hey, if Camus could have an invincible summer inside him, why not me? It's the kind of quote that looks great, inspirational even, on a coffee mug or the cover of a journal. But the Camus scholar Robert Zemetsky reminds us that this quote, taken out of context, is a little misleading. He writes, "Invincible summers suggest indestructible hopes." But just as Camus did not do inspiration, so also did he not do hope. Hope is for suckers like Epimetheus, who disregards his brother Prometheus's warnings and opens Pandora's box. In that mass of evils, Camus writes, the Greeks brought out hope at the very last. Contrary to coffee mug sentiments, hope is, Camus explains, the most terrible of all the evils, because it is tantamount to resignation, and to live is not to be resigned. Well, I'm not sure that I can agree with Camus on his definition of hope. I think there's more to hope than resignation, but I'll give him this. Hope isn't all it's cracked up to be. Hope can move us to crack open a window on a dreary day and let in the sunshine and fresh air, or turn on the light therapy lamp, but it isn't the sunshine itself. Hope by itself doesn't change anything. Even so, hope is sometimes the handhold we can find as we hang on to the cliff. I wonder what Camus would have made of seeing people doom scrolling, engaging the infinite scroll feature of social media, hoping that the next meme will be the one that produces enough dopamine to launch us off the couch into real life. What would he have made of the cultivated life of memes, the too shiny life with the hashtag good vibes only that typifies Instagram, where even poverty and mental illness are scrubbed and glorified and storified for consumption? I can't blame anybody for doom scrolling. I do too much of it myself, even as I recognize that it's not the healthiest thing. It's one manifestation of a deeper problem pervasive in a culture characterized by isolation and consumerism. Life is so hard all the time, and we don't understand why we see and experience so much suffering. And yet we trudge through it day after day. The temptation to paste over it with a Band-Aid is compelling. Social media shows this to us in the form of toxic positivity, the attitude that just being positive can lift a person over any obstacle. But it's present in spirituality too, in the form of spiritual bypassing. It comes from a discomfort with what we think of as negative emotions, the emotions that tell us that something is wrong and needs our attention. It may be helpful here to just quickly define spirituality. As you've probably heard me say before, when I talk about spirituality, I'm not talking about supernatural phenomena, and I'm not talking about religious beliefs. I define spirituality this way. Spirituality is the human impulse to answer the big questions of life. Questions like, who am I? Where did I come from and where am I going? What is the meaning of life? And what is my purpose? Spiritual bypassing is any practice in which we use spiritual practices and spiritual language to avoid negative emotional experiences. When people are engaged in spiritual bypassing, they believe that if a person is sufficiently spiritual, they won't experience suffering in the same way that other people do. They can bypass the suffering by use of a spiritual experience. And it often looks and feels like a meme in real life. For example, many of us have had the experience of a big loss in our lives, the loss of a loved one, or losing a job or a home, and hearing someone tell us everything happens for a reason, or it must be part of a greater plan. It feels pretty terrible to hear that. It feels like this person wants to put a shiny bow on my awful experience and isn't really interested in what I'm feeling. Growing up in the church, at funerals, we used to sing songs like, "We'll understand it better by and by." Oh, somebody else has heard that song. That taught that there were some things that were beyond human understanding, which is true. But the implication was that we weren't supposed to ask questions or wonder why. We were supposed to get past the pain and grief as quickly as possible. I lost my place, sorry. I got all wrapped up in it. Oh, we're supposed to get past the pain and grief as quickly as possible because why should we be sad if the person was no longer suffering and now in a better place? To experience long-term grieving was considered self-indulgent and reflected an insufficient trust in God, who would someday make all things new and reveal all mysteries. I have seen so many people paint on happy faces to hide their grief, ashamed to feel sad for a lost loved one, even at the bedside, even before the body has gotten cold. It feels even worse to know that I've said things to people like that myself. And maybe you have too, before you knew better. In fact, in some circles of American Christianity, any so-called negative emotion was shamed. Feeling anger? Don't let the sun go down on your wrath. Feeling frustration? Patience is a virtue. These biblical catchphrases were programmed into us at a young age and became the voice in our heads, keeping us from feeling anything that might overwhelm us. Any downturn of fortune, illness, disability, divorce, estrangement, loneliness, or loss must be digested in secret and met with a smile in public. Why do we do that? Our stories deserve better than that. Why do we let ourselves be ashamed to have feelings? And worse, when religion should be a force in society that eases burdens and builds community, why do we allow religion to enforce fake happiness? Why do we pretend not to be suffering in the one place where we should be free to feel whatever we feel? Now, if you are tempted to think that this is endemic only to Christian traditions, let me assure you it's not. I have seen many American Buddhist practitioners whose smiles of equanimity mask deep pain, anger, and grief. Buddhism, when migrated from its native cultures in the East and taken root in the West, adopted some Western attitudes about salvation and righteousness. I see Buddhists who implicitly believe that enlightened people are never overwhelmed by strong emotions, that enlightened people are just like the Buddha, who we only ever see with that peaceful smile on his face. Feelings come and go like clouds in an empty sky, the master Thich Nhat Hanh was famous for saying. But sometimes I think that gets twisted to mean that if you are feeling strong feelings, you're not enlightened enough. And people bury those feelings. This, too, is spiritual bypassing. Do Unitarian Universalists engage in spiritual bypassing? Of course we do. We are susceptible to the forms of spiritual bypassing that come to us from the wider culture, as well as those that we pick up from spiritual traditions that are meaningful to us now. But I see a unique form of spiritual bypassing in our tradition as well. UUs often respond to suffering and injustice with an urgency to take action. Often, UUs will say that social justice feels like a vibrant and meaningful spiritual practice. And I think that's a good impulse. But sometimes we take action before we allow ourselves to feel the emotions of empathy, compassion, or even to fully feel anger about the injustice. We think, we already know what that feels like, so we can just skip ahead to the good stuff. But if we are acting from a desire to cover up the discomfort of suffering with something positive, that is spiritual bypassing. The truth is, any religious tradition will let us skip over difficult feelings if we are inclined to do so. And any religious tradition worth anything will also provide a path to genuine acceptance that moves through pain rather than trying to bypass it. The African-American theologian Barbara Holmes just died very recently, and I've been thinking about her powerful work on the contemplative spirituality of the Black church. In her book, Joy Unspeakable, she wrote about how if all we know about the Black church is the ebullient gospel tradition, the singing and shouting and praise and big joy of the Black church, we are missing out on half of what has made it such a foundation for Black resilience in this country. Holmes wrote about her experience of growing up among the Gullah people of the Carolinas and the church traditions that developed alongside their proud land ownership and fierce resistance of white terrorism in the Low Country. As a child, she was permitted to play in the mornings, but was required to clean up after lunch and spend afternoons reading on the porch. She said, "My sojourns on the front porch taught me that meaningful spirituality required my full attention, that there might be times when mystery would descend and embrace me as an intoxicating surprise. However, during ordinary times, the attention of mind and body was a choice I could make." Her Gullah ancestors had been attacked by the Klan, and they decided to resist. They sent the women north to resettle in Newark, New Jersey, and the men stayed behind. Night after night, they laid low in fields with shotguns and shot at anyone who rode by on horseback. Holmes wondered, can you meditate when you leave the only land you have ever owned under duress? When survival is the goal, can contemplative practices help? Holmes wrote, "My family's stories have convinced me that contemplation can occur anywhere. Stained glass windows and desert retreats are not necessary. In fact, duress may facilitate the turn inward, the centering down that Howard Thurman identifies. How good it is to center down, to sit quietly and see oneself pass by." Thurman continues, "We look at ourselves in this waiting moment, the kinds of people we are. The questions persist. What are we doing with our lives? What are the motives that order our days? What is the end of our doings? Where are we trying to go? Where do we put the emphasis? And where are our values focused? For what end do we make sacrifices? Where is my treasure? And what do I love most in life? What do I hate most in life? And to what am I true?" Holmes and Thurman are pointing to the antidote to spiritual bypassing. There is no substitute for sitting with discomfort until we have heard all that it has to tell us. Most of us will never experience anything like the racial terrorism that Holmes' ancestors experienced, yet all of us, to a one, will become acquainted with grief. We know the suffering is unavoidable. It is one of the few things we can count on. Can we be prepared to meet it when it arrives? Cultivating personal spiritual practices helps us learn to sit with our difficult emotions. Spiritual practice can include prayer or meditation, but it is not limited to them. It has two requirements: that it be spiritual and that it take practice. It is spiritual when it is oriented toward the great questions of life, and it takes practice when we do it daily or regularly, making art, walking, reading devotional texts, gazing through a telescope, your regular visit to a friend in nursing care, or your small group ministry can all be spiritual practices. Spiritual practice helps us sit with our emotions, and when we sit with our emotions without running away, we learn that there are no bad emotions. Contrary to what Western thought and religious traditions have taught us, every emotion has something important to tell us, and emotions will not go away until they have been thoroughly and deeply felt. There is no timetable for grief. There is no 3-point plan for trauma. There is no Band-Aid that covers those wounds. The more we are willing to sit with these emotions without trying to fix them or save ourselves from them, the more gradients we will find in them. We will feel less discomfort. We will start to see the difference between an ordinary feeling and a persistent trouble that needs professional guidance. We will start to feel less vulnerable about sharing our feelings with those close to us. We will also feel less compulsion when faced with the suffering of the world. We can enlarge our capacity to sit with the difficult feelings of others we love. We will feel less urgency to run out and save the world from injustice. There will be times when we can mourn the great losses and terrors of the world and then do nothing because there is nothing we can do. And we will be able to sit with the grief of that helplessness too. And when we do act, we will act not from discomfort with grief, but rather from deep love and compassion and joy. If you are not regularly sitting down with your emotions and befriending them, resolve now to make it a habit. Make friends with your emotions. Let them sit beside you. Banish good vibes only from your vocabulary. Let your spirituality be a source of strength for yourself and comfort for others. Cultivate that sunshine, that invincible summer that persists even through storms and clouds. May it be so. That's our cue. Let's stand and sing. Our closing hymn is number 311. seated. We close our service this morning with the words of the Reverend Dr. Barbara Holmes. Whatever is going on in your life right now, this too shall pass. Where do you find your joy? If you don't know how to dance, don't worry. Your soul knows the steps. My very favorite show tune. Thank you, David. Thank you to our choir. If you're still around, you were great. Thank you to Melinda, who your words inspired me. Thank you. And on her solo maiden voyage in the AV booth, Christina, thank you. And thank you for your patience as we've run just a little long, but I did promise Phil and Nancy that they could have a little time to give you a very important announcement.
So if you saw the video, you may know that I like to think and plan. Step one is finding your way to the auction on November 2nd at the Viridian Center. So hopefully you figured that out. If you haven't done that, please visit the auction table and they have plenty of suggestions. Step two, while you're at the auction table, you can register and get tickets.
And in your pews, you may have noticed these handy-dandy QR codes for the Together We Can auction. So you can use that to get right to the website and get registered. So a lot of you here, I know, have come to the auction before, and you know what a fun event it is, right? A lot of fun. Awesome. Yay. Many of you have never been to the auction. So I would really encourage you to look into our first-timers tickets. They are half off the price, so that's really awesome. We have so much fun at these. We have signature cocktails to drink while you stroll around and look at the over 150 silent auction items we have in all price ranges. You get to have a fabulous dinner and enjoy some social time with your friends. And you get to hear more about our Fairly Free Thinker Award, which you'll find out about. If you're a parent with small children, we are going to have free on-site childcare this year. So the kids get pizza and a movie while you get to do the fun adult stuff. Pretty awesome.
Step 3 is figuring out what you want to bid on. Maybe there's a vacation that you'd like to plan with family or friends. Maybe there's a gift that you could find for somebody else along the way, or maybe there's something for yourself. How do we actually figure out what's available?
All right, if you have one of these, and you have one of these, it takes you right to the website or the app, and you can now, today, I made it visible for you to see all these 150 fabulous items, so you can do your browsing and get ready, because next Saturday, the 26th, the silent auction goes live, and you can start bidding. Woohoo! So Philip, what are you planning to bid on?
This.
I like that one. See you in Elliott Hall.